What I'm saying is that you can make it a very lonely process if you decide that the way to work is to work, and then deliver a result. Or if you realize that it's a process, every month you're going to update everyone, every month you're going to have a feedback, and it's going to keep the momentum and it's going to redirect you in the right direction. This way, you're bringing success and you're surrounded with people who support you.
Hello and welcome to Gould with Gould, the go-to podcast for startups and entrepreneurs. I am your host, Larry J. Gould, and today I'm joined by executive coach and author Stephanie Sebag. Now, Stephanie is not just a coach in the United States, she also is a coach in Israel, she's also a coach in France. So she's very unusual and has such a wide experience of startups and also such a wide experience of helping people through many of their struggles, especially when they're working in difficult situations. So, Stephanie, it's really great to have you here. Thank you for coming.
Hi, Larry.
Thank you for your fully charged book, which what I liked about it, I mean, we haven't got much to time, but it's not just what you've written and the suggestions you made, it's the questionnaires at the back of the book, which forces the reader to deal with lots of the subjects. So thank you for that.
I'm glad you like it.
If anybody's watching, it's available on Amazon.
Yes.
So
in many different languages.
Please go for it. It's very helpful. It's absolutely wonderful to have you here today.
Thank you.
And what we have done at Gould for Gould over the period of time, we've dealt with 250 startups, and there's a number of questions that keep coming up, and we've actually recorded, we're only asking you about half a dozen today. We've got, I think, 48 on our list, but it is really dealing with the issue mainly of loneliness today, the loneliness of a startup. So I've got some of these questions, so yes. Is it okay if I just ask you?
Of course.
Okay. So first one that we've heard a lot, because today's questions are the ones that are the most repeated. So I often feel overwhelmed by the number of responsibility and choices that I'm making every day. And I want to know, how can I approach this and in a more manageable way? I'm just in a panic a lot of the time.
Yes. So there are many different tasks, and the idea is to use, very often I suggest my clients use this matrix from Eisenhower. So it's a matrix that make a difference between urgent and important.
Okay.
You have four, so the idea is to understand what you need to do now, what you need to delegate, what you need to schedule, and what you need to delete in terms of tasks, because it's a waste of your time. So I strongly suggest all the entrepreneurs, if they don't know this matrix yet, I talk about it in my book, I think it's page 31, to use this matrix in order to not only address their to-do list in an everyday manner, like, okay, my to-do list is 100 tasks, I don't know what to do with it. Of course, it's overwhelming, because the whole idea is to differentiate what is coming at you and the direction that you're creating for your startup. Two different things. What you're creating is important. What is coming at you is urgent. Not necessarily urgent for you. Sometimes it's urgent for people. Let me give you an example. You receive an email from someone at 10 p.m. and he needs to tell you something just to let it out of his head. It's not urgent for you.
Yes.
But it was urgent for him to get rid of it. You're not going to address that now, immediately. You can look at it tomorrow morning.
But many do, don't they?
That's the problem.
That's the temptation, isn't it?
Exactly. So the temptation is not to make the difference. Is it really urgent or not? Is it important? Maybe it's not even important. You know what I mean? So you have to organize all your tasks in 4 different categories. Again, what I'm supposed to do now, because it's urgent and important. What I'm supposed to schedule, because it's important but not urgent. I have a little time. What I'm supposed to delegate because it's important, but for me, I can ask somebody else to do it, you know? And when it's not important, not urgent, you just delete it. It's a waste of your time.
Okay, so you have to be a bit brave to do that, because being a busy fool is often a comfortable place to be, isn't it?
So that's the trick. You're very busy, but you need to create this space to organize your work. You cannot just go by the flow. You have to be conscious about it and create a space in your calendar, in your day, to organize your workload. The same way a student would do it, actually.
The question that I think is the most concerning for most of the startups and for people who have been actually in business, and that is they're struggling with the customer interactions because they have to sell.
Yes.
And when you have to do something, when that's part of your job, you can't escape it, although many seem to want to escape it, but it really stresses them out. And the rejection makes them feel very bad. And so most people are on their own, but not all people. If they do, even if you work with co-founders, making those calls and people putting the phone down, you say, I'm not interested, and all these different things. How do you deal with that rejection?
Yeah, so you were saying something very
By the
true.
way, I'm not very good myself at rejection, so I'm desperate to hear about.
No, you did very well, Valentina. I wanted to ask you actually how you did. So actually what they're trying to avoid is not the sell itself, is the rejection. Because the sell, when it's a success, it's wonderful. So the first thing is to accept that rejection is part of the sales process. You cannot avoid it.
Just repeat.
You know why?
I think that is really important. Can you just repeat it? It's so important.
Yeah, it's rejection is part of the sales process.
Right.
For only reason it's because what I need, for example, let's say a mug, is not necessarily what you need.
Yeah.
So I cannot sell my product to everyone on the planet, you know. So, but it doesn't define you. It doesn't define your worth. It doesn't define your life. And that's why you need, when you have rejection, first of all, don't say rejection. Say, you know what, this person doesn't need my product. It's okay. I'm just going to move away. So physically, you just move. You go, you get a coffee, you know, you walk, you do something, and then you go back to your place. If it's too difficult, you move space. You take your computer and your phone in a different room. There you are, you're a new person. And you're ready to sell again. So I don't like the term sell, even if we need it. I would say inspire people to get my product. Bringing curiosity around my product. The same way the CEO of the startup had this amazing idea and wanted to sell it to the investors. It's the same process.
Right.
I'm explaining to you why this is a brilliant idea, not because I created that, but because the world needs it. So it's the same idea. So the beginning is not to start convincing people, but try to see what are they curious about. And then you bring your solution. So basically it's creating a fake problem.
Right.
For what you have a solution. But it's really about being authentic, not pretending to be somebody else, and being passionate about what you do.
It's hard sometimes to be passionate when you're scared, isn't it? Though?
It is. But the more you practice it, it's like driving. The more you practice calling people, the easier it gets, right?
Yeah. So I think that's very good. And I do think that accepting it's just part of the process.
Yes.
And that's the hardest thing. And it is part of the progress. And, you know, yes, so I think that's really great. The other thing that in the list, this is in order almost, is that most startups have some backers. And the majority of the startups that we come across are F's and F's. You know what that is?
I would love to clarify.
Friends, family, fans, and the last F sometimes is fools.
Yes.
So many family members help or want to help a family member, with their business and give them money.
Yes.
And that is great and it's okay as long as things go well. But sometimes, obviously, they might not be going that well, or they might be doing badly, or it's just early days. So one of the things that actually happens is that when people give the money who are not expert investors, that's your family, they're very anxious about what they're getting.
Of course.
The other sort of investors who are professional investors expect to have a report. And so therefore they want a report on a monthly normally basis. It could be longer or shorter. But so that is very important about giving a report. But the other thing is the breakup in families caused by startup not working out is huge.
Yes.
It's really huge. Brothers and sisters, they've had all the money for it and now they've wasted it and so on and so forth.
So my first advice is when you get some money from your family or from a friend, you sit down, you sign a paper, and you say, I'm going to reimburse you in 6 months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now. At least you agree on something. And there is a paper. For the person who's receiving the money, it's very important because it creates accountability. It's not just a kind gesture that I'm receiving. For the other person landing the money, it creates reality, So it's part of the process not to damage your relationship. That's the most difficult part when you create this startup. Because remember, every support comes from your family and friends at first. So if you burn all these bridges, you're going to feel very lonely.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So it's part of building the relationship and the trust. So that's the first thing. Second thing is you need to update your investors. Now, I would anticipate, instead of waiting every month for their phone call or for their checking in, which can create anxiety, I would anticipate, call them, say, can we meet? Can I give you an update? And interest them in the process. This is what we've been doing this month. This is what has been happening. They can ask questions. You can ask questions. So you're building this relationship. Again, it's all about relationship.
Yeah.
And of course, in the end, you're giving numbers.
Yeah.
But you don't give only numbers. And you, of course, don't send just an email with the numbers.
Yes.
Because again, it's in movement, And most people have trouble dealing with uncertainty. So you're creating a little certainty in this uncertainty process.
Yeah, and I think that's really good because I think that by actually working out what you're going to say is also helpful for the entrepreneur.
Yes, exactly.
I think that's a really, really good piece of advice. And also making it more formal. So what do you do when the family member says, I don't want that, I love you, I trust you, you're brilliant? What do you do?
Well, that's funny. You say, yes, I love you, I trust you, and we're going to do this paperwork.
Okay.
Because I love you.
Do the paperwork.
Because I want to make sure the relationship is safe.
Yeah.
Because down the road,
yeah. I mean, this is massive. It's massive. So I hope that people out there are really thinking about this. It's really great advice, having that formality. So thanks for that.
Of course.
Next one, a bit lower down than that, is they say that when they come home, I mean, a lot of people work from home. Majority of startups work from home. When they come from home, it's so hard to switch off from work. And many of them complain that their work-life balance is completely messed up. They feel completely guilty all the time, on edge, and the very fact that they have access to work, where sometimes if you work in a company, you go home and it's gone home and you just have to wait till then. But you've got your computer, you can open it. What advice, because this is very stressful, what advice can you give people this work-life balance? A hard one.
Yeah, that's a hard one. So the first advice is when you enter your home, you have to understand that it's something sacred. This is your happy place. This is the people who support you, but you shouldn't dampen them all your negative energy and all your worries. So I would advise to put something on your door, for example, in your home, whatever works for you. Welcome to your happy place, or welcome to whatever. And you have to be conscious about it. When you're entering this space, you're leaving the problems of the startup somewhere else, because you have to be present for your spouse, for your kids. You know, they want you present. You shouldn't train them to be only present with your problem, with the startup, because what you're going to create, if you're not conscious about it, is that in the end, they're going to hate the startup, because the kids are going to say, you know, the startup stole my father. The spouse is going to be like, there is only your startup, like it's a second wife. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you have to be conscious about it, that they have to like your project as much as you like it, which means they have to have quality time with you.
Yeah. I love that idea of putting a sign on the door, like, you know, you're home now, not at work.
Exactly. Yeah.
Some might say, well, it's not such a happy place. So we had to sort of cater for them as well. You know, you are now at home, no more work.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think that is a simple way of actually reminding yourself at the door.
At the door. And you have to decide with your spouse on a schedule. Let's say I give, you know, like from 6 to 8, 8:30 every night. And then maybe at 8:30 I go back to work, or I don't. But it's a decision that you make, because first of all, it shows respect with the person that is living with you. And second of all, again, it builds the relationship, you know?
Because I suppose you feel you don't have to, because I'm working so hard. I'm working so many hours. You should appreciate that.
Yeah, this is not...
That's not working, is it?
No, because it makes people feel guilty, and it doesn't build a relationship.
So
again, you want to build a relationship, because we're talking about it today. We're talking about the loneliness.
Yes.
So to avoid this loneliness, every interaction is an opportunity to build a relationship. So don't take anything for granted. The kindness of your spouse, of your kids, of the investors, of your friends. Don't take anything for granted.
Right.
Start building the relationship. Keep on building the trust, you know?
So I know that's a lot for you to take in, but it really is sound advice. We are seeing so many problems within families and relationships. I love what you're saying.
Thank you.
And I hope it's useful to the people who are with us today. This one was the joint one, equal one to the last question of importance to people from our research. And that is, many people have a business partner. Now, sometimes those business partners are silent partners, so they just give them some money, or they give some advice, or whatever. And really, at the beginning of the relationship, it's often like a love affair. You do something exciting. You're starting a business together, and you decide what your cards are going to be like, and you decide what the logo is going to be like, and all that, and it's really, really, I have to tell you, so exciting. But life isn't always exactly as it should be, and what actually happens is, as the stress comes within the business because of business reasons, the disappointment comes within the partners. And one of the real reasons for failure is often the breakup of a partnership. So first of all, how can you avoid it? And secondly, how can you break up in the best way?
In the best possible way. So first of all, how to avoid it is like in a couple. Communicate. What brought you together is a vision, a common vision, and common values. You have to go back to that. So you go back, you sit down with your partner, and you clarify, where are we in this vision? Do you still believe in this vision? What can we work together to achieve this vision? How do you feel about it? Like, what has been working for you in terms of how we've been working together? Would you like to improve something? Clarifying the way we work together and the way we think about this vision. That's the first thing. Because chances are, if you feel like your partner you have some tension, if you don't address it, it's going to get bigger because he feels the same or she feels the same.
So how do you deal with the criticism that you've made, or this not the criticism, but the point that you've made, and the person gets angry with you, because that's what often seems to happen. What you mean, I've been working very hard, I've been doing this, and what about you? How? Because that's often, when we've actually explored what's actually happening with the startups, that's how that conversation goes. Any advice on how to sort of...
So I think you have to acknowledge that it's hard for everyone. So if your partner tells you, it's been very hard for me, I've been working very hard, he's not trying to convince you that he's been working very hard. He wants you to say, I see it. He just needs that.
Right.
I see it. That's the first thing. And you can always say yourself, I've been working very hard, or this week I was not available. I apologize. But just acknowledging is the first part. The second part is, in order to go back to your vision and to refine this vision and to make sure you're in alignment with this vision, you can always say, you know what, today, let's forget about the computer. Let's go on a hike. Let's open the possibilities. Let's reconnect.
Okay.
And get new energy.
Yeah. And it's
maybe sometimes laugh, maybe sometimes, but just, it's like a relationship. It's a dance. Sometimes we're close, sometimes we're far, but it's a dance. We're never disconnected.
Yeah. So it's interesting that, because very large companies, as you know, often do take people on a hike and things like that. I think that's another good idea. You wouldn't necessarily...
You remove yourself from the situation, right?
I think that's really, really brilliant. So the one of the things they talk about, and it's the same, because we are talking about the loneliness, is the depression.
Yes.
And where they've come from is not from a sort of a flat line. They've come from a high line of excitement. It's not like I've been bored all the time and now I'm just bored and depressed, but it's like I've experienced the excitement of starting the startup, and now it's awful and I'm lonely. And what do I do? What do you do? What are suggestions? How do you recognize it? What steps can you take? And it's a big question to ask. To answer like that.
That's a very good question.
We can only give good hints.
You're touching something very interesting. Yeah. It's the excitement and the adrenaline. It can have the effect of a drug, on your brain.
Yes.
So you get all this adrenaline and then nothing. Yeah. It's very hard. Then you're going to go down. So you have to make sure to get some kind of excitement about the project every time. That's why you have to look at progress. Because if you see the project and you see only in like 2 years from now or 3 years from now, this is where we're going, it's a very lonely journey because you're seeing only the end result. We want to see the progress. So find any way throughout the day to see the progress. Be grateful for something. Okay. And it's a trick for the mind, but it's very important, because the more you will see the progress, the more you will stay engaged. The more you will stay engaged, the less lonely you will feel.
That's good. But the final question that we've got for today, because we could be here for hours, it is one of the questions that somebody said to me that really upset me and affected me. They said to me, these are my choices. Invest or eat. Invest or eat. And there are many, many people out there in that position.
So when you're telling me it upsets you, like, how does it make you feel? What was the...
I think it made me feel that they were at the end of coping. That the fact that they couldn't see any money coming in, so the money was not coming in, and they have maybe no more money, or nowhere to borrow some money, or even they may be able to get some more money. But, it's that choice. Can I sell something? I've already sold some things. I've already cancelled my holidays. I've already bought no clothes for the last 2 years. So
of course you want to avoid reaching out, reaching this point.
Yes.
You have to anticipate any possible ways to avoid this situation, because then it's a very hard choice. It's a tricky question, because it's not because you create a startup that you know how to deal with uncertainty. You have to learn the way, but it's also, there is a critical point where you have to make a decision.
And that decision is to stop.
And the decision is to decide when to stop. So
that's hard, isn't it?
That's very hard.
Yeah.
But the only way to know is to do regular check-in with the reality.
Yes.
Because between what's in my brain and my mind and what is really in the reality, I have to check in. I cannot be isolated. Otherwise, I'm living a dream.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
So regularly check with investors. That's why I said, instead, anticipate, meet your investors, tell them, you will see their reaction.
Okay.
And actually, it's going to give you a boost, you know?
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that you can make it a very lonely process if you decide that the way to work is to work, and then deliver a result. Or if you realize that it's a process, every month you're going to update everyone, every month you're going to have a feedback, and it's going to keep the momentum, and it's going to redirect you in the right direction. This way, you're bringing success, and you're surrounded with people who support you.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. So, Stephanie, thank you so much. It's been really, really useful. Really great. Tell us, where can our audience find you?
Okay, thank you, Larry. It was wonderful to be here. So I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram. My name is Stephanie Sebag, and my book is available on Amazon in English, French, and Hebrew, and in audio. And you can always contact me at Stephanie Sebag Coach if you have at gmail.com if you have any question.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And everybody, have a good and easy time, and look forward to seeing